Hello, welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. Gonna shoot a quick video this afternoon, Sunday afternoon. Beautiful, cold, chilly outside. About a piece of history that I own, the Moroso Power Speed Calculator. Part number 89650. You'll see it's old and yellow, at least on the outside, the clear part. It still works, and believe it or not, still available. Back before the information superhighway, you had really smart people, and whoever developed like the slide rule and figured out space and everything else. I mean, there's some really smart people, smarter than I can even imagine being. I'm not even close. But thank God they exist, and they provide us with information that regular people can use. So Moroso, local company for me, kind of out of Connecticut. I believe it was the late 60s. Dick Moroso figured out how to, well, I think that Moroso as a company was really good at taking everyday products and putting them, gathering them, putting them together in a kit to do specific things on a race car, both drag racing and circle track racing. That's probably, in my mind, their claim to fame. They went on to develop a lot of cool products, and to this day, an excellent company. I mean, they have, if you need hardcore race stuff, I mean, dry sump parts and stock car parts and drag racing stuff, and engine tools, and you name it, check them out. I'm not associated with them at all. I know they exist. Again, I'm in Maine, they're in Connecticut, and I've been a customer forever. I mean, they have some really nice stuff. This was a gift to me back when I first started drag racing by my older brother. He bought me a chassis book, bought me one of these, and with this, I used to sit and dream about how fast I wanted to go. Now, when I built my first race car, my first serious race car, a Pro Stock car, which was the fastest door slammer, door type car, on the planet. The only type of race cars that I really enjoy, I mean, the other stuff is cool. I like funny cars, dragsters are okay, the nitro, all that stuff, but the only thing I can relate to, like probably anybody watching, is a vehicle with, that has doors and, was once and could be an everyday driver if it had to be, sort of, depending on how hardcore race car it is. Nowadays, those lines are all blurred, so with people driving some incredibly fast cars, that's a story for, by itself. Just for kicks, I looked on eBay, and the 89650 Power Speed Calculator is still for sale, starting at around 19 bucks, as high as 30 bucks on Amazon, eBay, you name it. And they haven't upgraded it, or updated it, I should say. For instance, for the horsepower to weight calculator, it tops out at 1100 horsepower. That used to be pretty much unobtainable. A Pro Stock car at the time probably didn't have that much power. Nowadays, it's more attainable. Again, technology rolls on. So with that in mind, it limits the information you're going to get, but for most anything I own, for the most part, I can fudge the difference, but when I started using it, I never dreamed of having that much power. I dreamed about it, but reality is another thing. If I had 600 or 700, I'd be doing pretty well. I knew my vehicle weight, and it would predict my ET, my power to weight ratio, and the quarter mile speed, which became important because next, down here, this is the horsepower to weight over here. Down here, you can calculate your tire size and gear ratio. So around here, when you get down to doing a dragway, which is a quarter mile track, you didn't run out of gear at 1,000 foot. If you used to racing 8th mile, people used to have different gear sets, and nowadays they pretty much run the set up to a point. You know, if the car's hauling in the 8th mile, it's going to haul in the 1/4 mile too. So cars are so fast now, they lift at the 8th mile and coast to 6 and 7 second 1/4 mile times. On the back, there's some engine calculators. Bore and stroke, they max out at 525 cubic inches. Because once again, when this was designed, a 500-inch Pro Stock was huge, and some IHRA mountain motor stuff was bigger, but clearly they outpaced the calculator, and today it still only goes to 525 cubic inches. But for the average guy, that's all you're going to have, especially with, you know, like the LS engines, they're smaller displacement. I've read about a few that approached or are at 500 cubic inches, but that's about it. Give them time, somebody will make a bigger one, but but it's handy with your bore and stroke. You can calculate, you know, 4, 6, and 8 cylinder displacement. So just recently as last week, I was trying to figure out how big this motor was going to be. It's 4-inch stroke, 185 bore, 440 cubic inches. Still figure it out on the old power speed calculator. On the bottom of side 2 is a tool that I've underused. I've stared at it and tried to figure it out, but if you know your exact volume of a cylinder at top dead center, that would be your design of your piston, your quench area, and the head gasket thickness, which is going to take up some volume, plus the combustion chamber. It'll calculate your compression ratio. Someday when I have all the numbers, I'll see how accurate this is, because it only takes the volume at top dead center and gives you a compression ratio, but I'm sure that it's accurate because they all are. So nowadays, I mean, it's cool to have this if you somehow are somewhere on Earth where you don't have an internet connection and you're sitting around waiting for it to stop raining at the racetrack and you want to do some daydreaming or bench racing. Well, that's wicked handy. $20, I still think it's a good buy. Even all these decades later. Nowadays, if you do have the internet, there's places all over the internet with all kinds of automotive calculators where you can quickly calculate just about anything. I like the 8th mile to 1/4 mile conversion calculators and vice versa, and, you know, ET to horsepower. I've always found that to be pretty accurate, and that is the only time. I guess it's still going to cost you money, but you can sit there and punch in numbers all day long, and I would say it wouldn't cost you any money, but eventually, if you continue to dream and start putting it in reality, it's going to cost you money to fill out the boxes. I dug this out today while I was looking for something else in an old corner of my toolbox where I don't go very often. The last time I seriously was calculating this was trying to make my, new to me at the time, my orange Camaro top sportsman car. I had to run in the 7s. I knew it weighed 2,650 pounds, 2,650 pounds with me in it. Actually a little more than that. Eventually with a nitrous bottle. It was a 2675-ish. I knew approximately how much horsepower I needed, and when I was all done, I exceeded the calculator that I originally got when I wanted to go fast. It took me 20 years to do it, but I finally exceeded the capacity or the capability of the power speed calculator, because I went 750, 179.99 at 2,675 pounds is 1,450 horsepower. So that I built, just another piece of junk I built actually in my other garage, but built it out of parts, nothing special. And my goal was to run in the 7s in the 1/4 mile without the nitrous, but I've told the story before. The clutch I bought was a IHRA Mountain Motor Pro Stock clutch that I sent back and had rebuilt, and it was too aggressive for the motor and it would bog. I needed more power. So it was midsummer. I wanted to race the series locally, Top Sportsman Series, so in a crash course over 5 or 6 days, I researched bought and installed an NOS fogger, and went from bogging and running 820s to 780s, 770s, and then I gave it a little more nitrous jet and went 750s, almost 180. We were IHRA at the time at doing the dragway. The next, 2 years later, they were going to go to NHRA, which they did. The license was supposed to be just a transfer, send them $40 and you're supposed to get a license back. They wanted to send your last ET slip, which was my personal best at 750 to infinity. In NHRA, the next license starts at 749. So they gave me a generic 750 to 10-second license, $9.99. And that made me mad. I had a 6-second license IHRA and had plans on going faster. I've personally got my both IHRA and NHRA license. If you combine, I've got them 4 times, maybe 5. And let them expire because long periods of time, elapse between race cars sometimes. So here I sit under another one. Someday, probably have to go through the process again. That's my story. Real quick on a Sunday afternoon. Go out there and do something. Have some fun.